Morning, everybody. You know, if someone had told me when I was running late to a meeting because of daylight savings that not that many years later there would be a cure for that. Does anyone remember having a work meeting when the clocks change and then being late for it or missing it? So if someone had told me that, I would have been overjoyed. So today, the fact that
Dave,
everybody...
we're women. We don't miss meetings.
If that's the most controversial thing I say, I can't wait till we get into it. I wouldn't know because I wasn't there, but if that was true, I would be overjoyed, except for the fact that I didn't anticipate that moment. We've got a great panel here today. We're talking about women in marketing and trends. I'm Dave Rosner. I'm the CMO of Audigent. This is our second time here at Brand Innovators. We're in the programmatic space. We're the leading data, identity, curation, and activation platform. And we were really new to South by last year, and we've become a top 10 fastest growing ad tech company. So exciting to be here and to be here with this esteemed panel. So we want to get right into it. We're talking about women in marketing, and there's no better way to learn about women in marketing than to benefit from women who have become incredibly successful and we can all look up to. So rather than the short introductions, I thought it would make a lot more sense to actually hear about everybody's path, where you're coming from, and then take us all the way up to where you are today. So, Stephanie, if you want to kick us off, and then whoever wants to jump in.
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Feeling good? Well, my name is Stephanie Atiase. I'm the Vice President of Brand Management for IHG Hotels and Resorts. And I'm actually from Austin, Texas. So every time I'm back in Austin for South by, it feels like a bit of a homecoming. Sounds like there's some Austinites in the room. A little bit about me. I started my career actually as a management consultant and strategist, working with growth companies, thinking about customer strategy, brand strategy, and really just falling in love with working with executives on thinking about like, where's their next billion going to come from? And I did that work for so many years, and then at some point, I think like many management consultants, you just want to be home on a Tuesday. Has that happened to you, where you're like, it doesn't matter how amazing the hotel experience is, you're like, you just want to be home. And funny enough, at that same time, I got recruited to go lead a corporate strategy team for a hotel company and thought about how do we continue this growth strategy, customer strategy, and making sure that we fully understand the voice of the customer. In loving the work around voice of the customer, and like especially in a service operations business where you're not just looking at revenue data or brand.com data, but you're also trying to understand the everyday interactions with frontline staff, I really wanted to understand how do we deeply understand what our customer needs and how do we input that into our marketing strategy and our product strategy. And that's what made me really fall in love with marketing. It's that deep understanding of how do I connect to the customer beyond just the features or what's a demand driving experience, but really connect with the customer in terms of their values. And so when I was recruited by IHG Hotels and Resorts to lead the Holiday Inn Express brand, which is the largest hotel brand in the world, it's actually 40% of our business, I was super thanks you. I was super excited about not just leading the brand strategy, but also leading global customer experience, product design, and then campaign strategy. And so it's been a really exciting last couple of years, really just thinking about our growth, but also figuring out ways in which to continue to embed that love for travel. And as we all learned through COVID, people will travel. Like they love to see their families, they love to see new experiences. Our business has grown substantially the last couple of years. And so it's been really exciting to lead this brand through growth. Amazing. Who would like to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Katie Castillo-Wilson. I'm the founder and CEO of TapOnIt. We are a text message marketing and communications platform, so SMS, MMS. We're working with brands of all sizes, including small businesses. And so to give you a little bit about my story, prior to starting TapOnIt, I worked in the media industry. I actually went to school for accounting, not marketing. I had no idea what I was getting into when I started at the newspaper, all right? And I ended up falling in love with digital advertising. Data was really where I found a passion because it was something that was measurable, so you could see the success that was happening. And it was in 2013 that I saw an opportunity around cell phone numbers, right? I mean, let's be real. We all have multiple email addresses. Every time you get a new job, you get a new email address. But for the most part, everybody has one cell phone number. So, much to my family's dismay, I quit my job to launch a startup in Iowa. Tech capital of the world, right? Future tech capital of the world. So I raised money locally. Most people had no clue what I was talking about, but they gave me money, so that was really nice of them. And we were on a great path for growth. We actually had more of a deals business for a while, so consumers signed up for offers and promotions from local businesses. That was growing for years. In January of 18, Gannett invested in our company, and then things continued to grow, and it was amazing until COVID hit. Right? Well, luckily, we had built this really cool platform that was working well for us. We had started working with other businesses, and so we pivoted. And now here we are. And I have the pleasure of working with brands of all sizes and getting to help them on their marketing journeys. And so it's really cool, especially through Brand Innovators, the number of connections have been made and the different stories and the different things that everybody's working on. And yet, text messaging, that cell phone number, is really part of everybody's journey at this point. So it's been fun. Most of the time.
Hi, everyone. Happy Women's History Month, with the caveat that we are making history every single month, every single day, and every single hour. My name is Kayla Santos. I'm head of brand marketing at MoonPay. Before I get into what that is, my career journey in 3 words: sports, beer, and crypto. Perfect. Some might say those are male-dominated industries, and I have very intentionally invited myself to the table of those industries. My career started at Under Armour. That's the sports side of things. I was on the events team, transitioned to build out the first diversity, equity, inclusion team and strategy for what does inclusivity look like at Under Armour in the long term, and then transitioned to the women's brand marketing team. Wanted an industry shift, so I ended up at AB InBev working on Budweiser's global marketing team. My role at the time was an interesting mix, sustainability, World Cup, and then I actually raised my hand to be on the team to launch Budweiser into Web3 with their first NFT program. And that's when I really fell in love with Web3 and what Web3 could do for consumer engagement and loyalty in the future. And so I decided to jump in full time, which brings me to MoonPay. MoonPay started as a crypto payments company, so making it super simple for you to buy crypto with your card, then transition to buying NFTs with your card so you never have to have crypto. And now we're really expanding to be an end-to-end solution for brands, creators, and everyday consumers, building the infrastructure for success, as well as strategy consultancy around how we authentically bring big brands like Alo Yoga, like Universal, like Fox, into Web3. Those are some of the clients we have, to name a few. Would love to chat with any of you on the brand side to really bring your strategies to life. But yeah, I'm leading brand marketing, which is really interesting because the first time in my career I have many, many different audiences, which has been really, really interesting. So I have developers, I have large enterprises, I have creators, and then everyday consumers like yourself that are like, why crypto? Why Web3, especially in this environment? And really it's the benefit of what is it going to do for you? So I like to say from a brand marketing perspective, Web 2 was all about creating for consumers. Web 3 is all about creating with community. It's all about that community engagement and really strengthening.
I'm up. All right, guys. Can you hear me in the back? Good. My name's Nicole Craig, and I fell in love with marketing at birth. Just so you know. So I was actually born in South Dakota to a single mom, and when we would shop in the store, I would tell her what to buy, and I'd say, we need to get Tide because it whitens and brightens. So I always knew I would be in marketing. I grew up in Arizona. I moved to San Francisco. I was so excited to get an interview at an ad agency. So I went to this ad agency, and they said, we love you, but we can't pay you. So will you work here for free? And this was in the year 2000, and San Francisco, even back then, was expensive. And I'm like, I can't work for free. So I actually started my career in retail with Long's drugstores out on the West Coast. So instead of that moment of inspiration and that moment of love, I started at the moment of truth when people pick up your product. Really cool way to start my career. I spent the next 15 years in sales and sales support. So quickly switched over to the CPG side. I spent 10 years at Revlon in that space before I moved over to Mars Chocolate. And then I moved into more strategic roles. So brand strategy, channel strategy, And yes, marketers can do revenue management. I'm just going to tell you it's a good thing to have on your resume, which is fantastic. I joined Kellogg, so I did Mars Chocolate, then Wrigley, and then Mars Wrigley Confectionery together. I joined Kellogg 4 years ago. I came over in their global team, and I'm currently the Vice President of Global Brands for Kellogg. So that's about a $5 billion business globally. We have over 60 brands, just in case you're curious. And our international business is as big as our business in North America. So really, really cool set of brands and teams to work with.
And it's amazing how I'm not going to work for free turns into experience that makes you a better marketer. All right, I'll let Kayla take us home on this one.
All right, Erin Levzow, you guys are an inspiration. Like, I don't even want to introduce myself after hearing your stories. But I've been in marketing for years. I am the CMO of Museum of Ice Cream. I started in marketing at Caesars Entertainment. After the recession hit, I lost my job. They asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I'll clean rooms. Like, I'm a great housekeeper. I'm a horrible housekeeper. And they said, what do you know about internet marketing? And I said, I have the Facebook. And that was when I connected to my professors, and I thought it could never take MySpace because I can add a song on my MySpace. I can't on my Facebook, so, like, it's not going to work. But I was wrong. So that, but I started at Caesars. It was like whale feces, me, right? Like, so if you needed a PowerPoint clicker or like someone to get your coffee, I got you. I get really good at running coffee. Worked my way up, went over to MGM, went over to Palms, decided I didn't want to raise my kids in Vegas. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of kids grow up in Vegas. However, the first time my daughter asked me what 6969 babes to you meant, I was like, we have to move. We have to move. We can't live here anymore. So left, went to Wingstop in Dallas, then was recruited to Freebirds in Austin. After that, joined Hathaway, which is now Bounteous, as the MarTech agency building their vertical, up to Marcus Hotels and Resorts in Wisconsin. So I grew up in Illinois, went to Vegas for 10 years, Dallas, Austin, and now I live in Wisconsin. Most recently, I was at Del Taco and Jack in the Box. And then now, about 60 days ago, I started as the CMO of Museum of Ice Cream, which there's a museum here, Chicago, New York City, Singapore, Shanghai, many more coming as well as other experiential concepts, because we're all about human connection and inspiring people through imagination and connection. We want you to put your phone down, look each other in the eyes, and go, let's play together. So that's me.
Amazing. And there's a surprise coming. All right, we're going to go out of order on the questions a little bit. Erin, I'm going to kick it right back to you on building brands. So today, oh, is it here? Do not, whatever you do not look behind you.
Ice cream for breakfast. We should have partnered.
Yeah, I did an ice cream for breakfast thing. Wait, we'll do it.
Cornflakes
All right.
and ice cream, you guys.
This is how connections are made, just on panels.
All right,
Fuel
well,
for
you're
the
going to
day.
explain what's behind us in a second in the context of this question. So, being a CMO today is a lot. You also have to be a CFO, right? So, how do you, and Museum of Ice Cream is a great example, how do you sell through the brand building efforts that you need to do, because ultimately everybody is in this room because they care about brands. And it's called Brand Innovators because we care about brands. And brands are what bring us closer and have cultural relevance. But brand ideas are not always what's easy to sell through because people have quarterly results to hit. So how do you sell through brand ideas to an organization that's also really watching how the quarterly results are hitting?
Good question. So some might say bringing an ice cream truck to an event down by South by in front of a building like we have here is brand awareness. I will tell you it's revenue driving, because all of you are going to see it. You're going to have ice cream and you're going to love it. And then you're going to tell someone about it. You're going to be like, I'm at the CMO Museum of Ice Cream, right? That drives revenue, whether it's word of mouth marketing or not. And this idea that brand awareness and a brand marketer and a performance marketer are two separate things is bullshit. Every brand marketer is a performance marketer. If I ever do anything that doesn't drive revenue, shame on me, I should be fired. Right? Everything should drive revenue. And so, CFO, actually, my boss would tell you, her first question was, why do you like marketing? And I said, because I get to see the results of my efforts through revenue. I said, my job is to make you money. And she went, oh, I like her. Because it's not about doing a commercial and going, oh, I don't know if it worked, right? I had a boss one time years ago who goes, 50% of marketing works and 50% doesn't. We don't know. Bullshit. We know. There are so many ways to track. I know everything you're doing on your phone. In fact, the people in the back on their phone right now, I know what you're doing, right? Like, get off your phone, up here. But we are. It's about driving results, and we can do that together. So everything we do, brand awareness, whatever you want to call it, should be about driving the bottom line.
I want to open this question up to the rest of the panel as well. So, and I think I'm going to make it a level 2 harder, because what do you do when you know it's driving value and revenue, but it's not clear to the rest of the organization how those two things are connected?
You know, I think when you say it's not clear to the rest of the organization, I think sometimes it's also making sure everybody's aligned on the vision and the goals that you're trying to achieve. One thing that I have taken note of is, as somebody who was a previous accountant, you majored in accounting, whenever you're engaging with a CFO, you really have to better understand the experience that they have with the product, because then they'll better understand why you think it's so important to market the product a different way. So one thing I did when we wanted to launch on TikTok, per se, this is a time where people were very conservative when it comes to social media. It was like, should we be launching this area? Are we going to get a return for this? I asked the crowd of mostly men. I said, you know, how many of you all are on TikTok? Most of them were like, not on there. Then I said, how many of you all have wives or children on TikTok? Everyone raised their hands. And as soon as I did that, they clearly realized, you know, this is an area where we need to invest. But I think you can do the same across a lot of different channels, across a lot of different brand building activities, is really try to humanize the experience for them, so that it's not just about the numbers, but it's also about connecting it to their friends and families and how they engage with the product.
Nikki, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Yeah, it's tough not to point counterpoint. I would say the one thing when you think about a CFO in the organization is organizations are big. Mine is huge. And so if you think about other departments, everyone's spending money everywhere. It's not just us. So I think my first point of view is, well, okay, let's look at the total budget together, and you should have that financial knowledge. And you need to know your competitive benchmarks in places, because the thing is, we want to test and learn. Kellogg wants to test and learn. I cannot prove that these things are going to work. So we have Fruit Loops on Roblox. I cannot show, like, I can show some data, right? But I can't fully, attribute that back to the growth. And yes, you've got the revenue, that's great, but you have to have a portion of your budget set aside for testing and learning and growing and pushing and staying ahead. So that external view for a CFO, they don't look at it. It's like, let's think about Unilever, let's think about Mondelez, let's think about PepsiCo. I always throw that in there when I get nailed on my budget. I was like, oh, have you heard of PepsiCo? Yeah, they spend a lot. I'm okay. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
I think it's a great counterpoint, because my question, because I mean, as a marketer, I struggle with this also, is how do you make room for those moments that you can't have a direct line to revenue from, and how do you structure the process in a way that someone can say, aha, that goes under something that's critical for our business, and we've budgeted because we have to stay innovative in order to keep up, otherwise we fall behind. Kayla, you want to build on it?
Yeah, I think so. One of our most challenging parts being a marketer is everyone thinks they can be a marketer. And so it's really been about that marriage of art and science, and being able to, similar to if you're talking to a CFO, being able to speak their language. And I think what's most interesting is marketing is always seen as a cost center, but how do we actually use new technology to drive revenue? So I'm going to plug Web3 and NFTs for a second here, but truly they can become a new source of revenue, and it's almost becoming a new CRM tool. So you're able to connect with your consumer on a whole nother level, because it's no longer paid acquisition. You are now having the consumer opt in because they're the most loyal fans. So I think that that's an interesting shift that I'm seeing, especially as a brand marketer, is trying to appease to senior leadership by bringing that revenue in as a marketer, which can be extremely valuable at the end of the day.
Great marketers actually make things happen. We talked about this a little earlier. You think about it, you put it in the market, you see if it made money, you move on, which is a wonderful role to be in. So let's talk a little bit about marketing leading by example. What's something that you're working on that you're excited about right now that you can share with the audience? And Nikki, I think you brought some AV materials. So we're going to cross our fingers and look over to the side and say, will it work? It will work. Keep going on.
I'll go.
All right, jump in, please.
She's like, vamp, whatever. We'll just make it up. We just launched SMS yesterday.
Wow.
So we actually launched it with Katie
Congratulations.
from TapOnIt. And not only, obviously, big promoter of women, right? That's why we're all here right now. But also a minority-owned, female-owned business and vendor. So super proud to be launching with TapOnIt. Worked with a lot of different SMS companies. As everybody knows, 98% of text messages are opened within 4 minutes, and that includes when you're going to the bathroom or in the shower. So, like, there you go. And with that said, like, we knew we wanted that connection with our customers. So you can join our SMS and come hang out with me at the Museum of Ice Cream. We'll play in sprinkles.
I love that, and thank you. It's been such a fun partnership, and I will say that we turned it around in 3 days.
Oh, 48 hours. She called me. She goes, I have a fucking crazy idea. You want to hear it? And I was like, yeah. She goes, you want to launch SMS at South by? And I was like, okay. And
That
so we
was like
did.
the easiest sale ever. It doesn't usually happen like that, but the team, yeah, they turned it around, and it was so fun. And we got to go to the Museum of Ice Cream for the first time the other day. If you have not been there, it is awesome. Like, experience with your kids, without kids, with your friends. Like, it is a really cool spot, and I had no idea. And so,
We
yeah.
swang. We went down slides. We played in sprinkles.
Charles took a nap in the sprinkles. So yes, it's been fun.
So Katie, Erin, what's the SMS experience that you launched?
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Call me Scott.
Where did that come from? You can opt in, and we're giving away tickets. So there's a giveaway to opt in. And then our goal is to connect with the customers. They actually have a conversational AI component where you can discuss, or a real person could be on the back end talking to you via text. And so, again, it creates that connection. And so some people say AI is going to replace labor. It's not. You need both, right? You need both. You need the mechanism, and then you still need the human touch. And I think that's what they bring to the table, which allows us to create a relationship that isn't just email and isn't just push messaging or programmatic, which is still important. All of these, like you were talking about, all of these marketing pieces are important, but this just creates one more way to one-on-one conversate.
Well, and I'll say that when we first met, the conversation was around how strong your influencer media is. I mean, like, you guys.
Oh, we have Beyonce. Like, we're good.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you think about the social media aspect, they have more followers maybe than Beyonce. I don't know. But it's still not an audience that you own. So they want to be able to reach that, but they also want to build that first party. And so that's where the texting came in. And it's, I mean, if you love a brand, you'll sign up to receive text from them. And so people freaking love the brand. This is going to be a great way for them to be able to convert them into customers who are returning more than once, telling their friends. I mean, it's such a natural progression. So.
And it's always a good reminder that 1 week you can get something up that can have a huge impact in the marketplace. You meet the right person, you're inspired by the right idea, you make it happen, and then things change. It's not what we do all the time, but it's a part of what we get to do, and I think that's why it always makes sense to come to South by Southwest.
I do want to add one thing.
Okay.
So when you guys are getting your ice cream, there will be, grab a card and you can enter for your chance to win 4 tickets. So that's how you'll be able to start that whole activation and become part of their club. So you'll get the inside scoop.
I see what you did there. All right,
Love that.
we've got some AV, and it rolled up absolutely perfectly without a glitch. So without that, do we need a setup for the clip?
Yeah, I think the setup here, so something important that we're working on, a lot of people talk about purpose-driven marketing and how to bring it to life, and this is a critical initiative for Kellogg. So maybe we'll play the clip, and then I'll talk a little bit more about that.
All right, roll the clip.
Of course, Tony, I am such a fan.
Tony!
Najee!
You have a handshake. What's going on?
Tony drafted me on his mission to help save school sports.
You drafted him ahead of me.
Well, I wouldn't put it like that.
I might. I thought I was your top draft choice for Mission Tiger.
Definitely. Top 2 in the room.
Top 2. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people in this world.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Top 2 in the room. Nobody else in the room.
Buy a box. Support the mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's great to showcase that work from our U.S. team. We are incredibly passionate, obviously, about our food, but about saving school sports in middle school. So this is how your purpose-driven marketing comes to life. I think we're on year 2 of the program, year 3 of the program, which is fantastic. But now we're taking it global. So the biggest thing that we're excited about for Kellogg is we do a ton of work around our Better Days Promise globally. So you'll see that in all markets around the world. That's done at a master brand level, so our Kellogg master brand level. But we haven't connected that to our brands. And so that's what we're undertaking right now at a global level. How do we do that? We started the work in Latin America. So that will be launching a little bit later this year in Q4. And then Europe will be next.
You're the expert, so there is nobody who knows more about what's happening in culture and marketing than you do. So you may be the only one in the organization, and that's the job. It's like, of course, we have her. She's here to make sure that we're on trend. So what is give us an example anywhere in your career of when you found something new, you felt passionate about it, and you knew it was going to be hard to maybe get it into the culture of the organization
Yes.
to make it happen.
So I'm not going to talk about Web3 for the first time in my life.
Okay.
Let's talk
Make
about
sure it's about Web3.
No, we're gonna talk about sports bras.
He loves
Go on.
All right. So when I was at Under Armour on the women's brand marketing team, I was seeing, and I love meshing art and science. I was seeing that, I was an athlete growing up, but I wasn't our standard sample size. And I actually still consider myself an athlete, but we were seeing women do not identify themselves as an athlete once they graduate from high school and college and are no longer playing sports. But they still might be going to Barry's boot camp and really beating everyone else on the treadmill. And so I use that art portion of, I see a trend that's happening where we need to bring women into our brand by showing them themselves. And so then I took kind of the science part of it, did some consumer research, brand perception studies, and my hypothesis kind of came true. Women were not seeing themselves in our brand because we were not representing diverse body types. And so I actually don't think it's a crazy idea. It had to happen where we would implement strategies, and I'm most proud of what we called a choose your size model strategy for sports bras on e-commerce, where you could say, see it in a size like mine, and actually, speaking of performance marketing, that led to an increase in sports bra sales because women were now seeing themselves in the brand. And from more of an art perspective, we then had that same strategy across social media, in-store, email marketing, so that we were consistent across all consumer touch points to be able to go against that insight of we want women to see themselves in our brand. And so I'm most proud about that. I don't think it was radical or crazy, but I think it was very art and science driven, where I used insights to make the point, tested it out, ended up working, and we, to this day, Under Armour still is doing the choose your size model on their e-commerce site.
That's amazing. So was that a moment more of it was an aha at the organization? They were like, that's going to work? Or was there some help educating people who maybe weren't as...
I think it was a lot of education. And I think it's what I was also seeing in the market is, when diverse body types are being shown, they're not being shown in a high intensity workout setting. When I know myself, I'm a high intensity workout person. I can keep up, but I'm not like a standard size small. So I think
Right.
it was just education of like, we need to be displaying women of all body types, skin tones, working hard in the gym and on and off the court.
Yeah, in a previous life, I worked a lot with creators, and we did a program with Nike to help show more young girls playing sports, because young girls aren't encouraged to play sports, and then they don't go on to high school to play sports. And if you play sports, it helps you with a lot of other things in professional life. So they did a huge program that was incredible, and it had wonderful results.
Yeah, back to sports bras.
Yes.
An insight is a lot of girls will drop out of sport because they are not provided with a sports bra, and it's one of the biggest confidence driving factors.
Right. And I mean, that is an insight that a group of men probably would not get to.
Exactly.
Right. All right, so I want to hear more about breaking through with ideas that were wacky. I have feelings about this because I ran an innovations practice and another previous life. And we would have to get Bayer, which was a pretty conservative organization, to try crazy new things. And eventually we cracked the code, but we really had to work hard at it. So this is something I think everyone can benefit from the panel. So.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
the sports bra thing is, I mean, any well-endowed woman knows like how many times you've been handed like a string and you're like, I can't work out. Like, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work. Like, I'm gonna get a black eye. It's not gonna work. So I love that. I love that. Like, I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna buy some new sports bras. I think so. When you say how did you sell in like a hard idea, it's probably my passion and charisma that did it. But no, it's because it's about driving the bottom line and what the expectation is. So what is the KPI? What are we going for? What is the goal? So every time I say we're going to do this, a lot of times the reason an idea doesn't land is because there is no very clear objective, right? What are we trying to do? Not just that it's a cool idea. So when I used to work, I worked in hotels and resorts too. Love IHG. And I tried to convince my CEO that he needed to be on TikTok. He was older, he was white, he was a guy. He was like, I don't need to be on TikTok. I was like, no, let's do it. It's going to be fun. We can make all the trends, and it's going to help the brand. And absolutely not. He is now super hype on TikTok. Like, he's on it all the time. So I planted the seed. Someone else sold it home. But it was one of those ideas that I had to go, he goes, what's the goal? And I said, to drive awareness. And he goes, how is this going to make me money? I was like, awareness drives the bottom line. Like, but it took a long time to convince him. And eventually, like, his daughters and his wife, as you were talking about TikTok, had to say, like, Dad, you should be on TikTok. And he was like, all right. And now I see him, and every time I comment, and I'm like, I can't believe you're on TikTok. But it was one of those ideas you have to soul home. What is the goal? What is the KPI? And then set expectations to execute it.
For the Holiday Inn Express brand, naturally, hotels, what we're known for is connection, scale, getting to you to the activities that you want to do. But not everybody always thinks about what the demand-driving amenities are. So for Holiday Inn Express, even though we have a great night's sleep, we're everywhere you need to be, if you go into our social listening and if you talk to customers, the reason why they actually stay with us are our breakfast. It's the pancakes, it's the cinnamon rolls. And interestingly enough, if you would look at consumer data, they would say, we want to see more healthy options. If you look at consumption data, all you see is pancakes and cinnamon rolls. And so what was interesting is when we thought about a campaign last year, we were thinking about all the ways in which hotels show up usually, right? You see people hugging, you see people in their rooms, you see them exploring someplace new. When I said I wanted us to focus on breakfast, there were a couple people who were like, I don't know about that. I don't know that we want to be perceived as Denny's or as a restaurant. But you know what? It was our best performing campaign in terms of brand linkage because we knew it was the #1 reason why people chose Holiday Inn Express versus the competition. But I really had to show multiple data insights from across the experience to prove it out. So I think as you're thinking about moving something forward, sometimes it's not just about that one unique insight, it's helping people see the complete story. And then also, to the point that you made earlier, taking a real test and learn approach, because we started small. We started with a budget, we rolled that out, and then we realized that because it was performing so well, we needed to expand it to a lot of different markets, and we 4x'd our spend on it because it was performing so well. But it was only because we started small, took a test and learn approach, and really told the full story.
I love that. Do we have time for one more question? We do. Okay. What? And then we can open it up. Okay, great. So Katie, I wanted to start this one with you. Success comes from having a strong network. Our CRO, Gina Cavallo, I'm always learning so much, not even from her professional network, but how she maintains so many friend groups around her passions and keeps all of those things alive and keeps that into making herself successful. How important is cultivating a network in your success? And there's some thoughts on how people who are thinking about this should go about handling that?
So first, I'd like to say that when it came to selling a crazy idea, nobody was texting with pictures when I first started the whole path, right? So I would go out to raise money, and at one point somebody said, why would you want a database of people's cell phone numbers? And I'm like, all right, clearly you are not the right person for me to be talking to if you don't understand why you would want a database of people's cell phone numbers. So raising money was some of the hardest thing and it still is. I'm raising around right now. It's the hardest stuff you could possibly be doing. And the number one way that I've been able to do it is through some badass women like this. I mean, that's it. It's that support system. It's the people that I've met through Brand Innovators stuff. I mean, I'm lucky to be in huge networks around Latina culture, around, just women in business in general, and being able to lean in and support each other, I think is the number one way that each of us get to grow, right? And I mean, that's been, without the network, one, I would have gave up because it was freaking hard. And it still is hard every single day, but I'm lucky that I know that I've got a great network both in my family, in my team, in these women that I'm meeting through these amazing events, and that there's a reason to keep going. And part of it is to set the example for our future generations that, yeah, you can be a badass woman in business from Iowa. Yes, we're a tech startup in Iowa, right? And you've got a whole lot of women there supporting you. So having a huge network and being able to really tap into that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
It really is. It's about lifting each other up, right? How many times have I introduced myself and started talking to someone, they go, what are you selling? I'm like, nothing. Like, I just want to connect with you. Like, I want to look you in the eye and go, I see you, and you see me, and then we lift each other up. And like, these women up here are some of the strongest women I know. Like, just hearing their stories, walking in, they bring such energy. So thank you for allowing me to sit with you.
That is an amazing place to wrap it up. What? And we're going to do some questions, but let me just say thank you all. I think there is no better example to learn from than the women on this panel. There's so much more. We only made it about through a third of the questions, and I kind of feel like we could go for a long time, but thank you so much for sharing your experiences and helping everyone get a better sense of how they can navigate their career to be as successful as the folks on this panel. So with that, let's open it up for questions.
Hi, I'm Ashley Hamilton. I'm with Ad Media. First off, I just love seeing a panel like this to begin with, because I think even 5 years ago, we were still struggling to see women in leadership positions, as well as women in leadership positions talking to other groups, talking to wider audiences. So this is fantastic. My question is, as women in leadership positions, especially in marketing and tech solutions, what are the steps that you're taking or that your company is taking to, reach down and help the next woman up into a leadership position?
I can take that. I think it's a very basic foundation, but give people the opportunity of who is doing the work to have a seat at the table presenting their work to leadership. It might seem so simple, but that is how you bring the people that are reporting into you exposure to leadership so they can be on a better track. I think that's one of them.
I totally. I also think like Brand Innovators, we're all here for Brand Innovators, right? They do a really good job connecting people. And so as a female marketer, I've had the Brand Innovators team introduce me to young up-and-coming women, and you're your own worst enemy, right? So I'm like, why are they talking to me, right? But I start talking to them, and they're like, why do you do what you do? How did you get there? And just being able to mind share and share with each other and lift each other up. And it's inspirational for me being able to give and pour into someone else, but it's so inspirational for them. And I found out that it was helping them just as much as it was helping me. And I, again, selfishly didn't realize it was about me or not. So I do think that Brand Innovators does a really good job. So any young and up and coming women who want to connect with someone, reach out to your BI person and go, hey, I want to meet some badass women, and they're going to introduce you to these women up here, right? Like, do it, and it's going to lift you up.
Yeah, and that was so good. I'll just add to that too. I think it's about being bold. And I mentor a lot of women and a lot of people in general. And I had a conversation. It's annual review time, and this person got an exceeds expectations, and she was like, "Oh, whew, okay, I got an exceeds. It's great. I got a 3 once in my life. It was terrible." And I said, you should think about that, because that means you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Don't be afraid of a 3. Don't be afraid to push, because what happens is you go up. If you go up in one vertical, you heard my career. It is very diverse. It's diverse on purpose. Because if you go up in one vertical, when you're at the top, you don't have anything differentiating you. You're a marketer, right? Like, what makes you distinct? You have to really build that in your career, and it will reap rewards.
I'll just add to that. I think in any of the informal coaching that I give, not just my team, but other marketers, the first thing I say is really to be excellent at your craft. I think sometimes, people are really focused on maybe a part of their craft, but really own what the expertise that's required to be a phenomenal marketer. The second thing I often say is really thinking about the relationships that you're building across the organization. I think sometimes you're focused on your team, you may be focused on managing up to your boss, but some of those relationships will help you get in the room, get you in the boardroom, make sure that your voice is being heard. And the last thing I really like to really push for people to do is to own your story. And I actually think that's where being bold comes from, is really figuring out what was my journey? I loved your story when you said you were in the grocery store and you were helping to convince your mom. That's something I will always remember. So think about what your story is and what impact you can have with your story.
Do we have time?
One more. I think this is a panel that can go over.
We're going all day, right?
We're going
all day.
Get drinks. All right.
Well, that's okay.
There's ice cream back there. There's an ice cream truck back there. We all have ice cream names. Cinnamon Swirls in the back, ready to give you free ice cream. So It's never too early for ice cream, right?
Thank you, everyone. Katie, Stephanie, Nikki, Erin, Kayla. This was wonderful. I think there might be time for one more question, but if not, we can do it off stage.
I'll just wrap this with a quick comment.
Wonderful.
My thing is a comment. I've been fortunate enough to actually interface with, and thank you, Katie, for telling the conference I fell asleep in the ball pit. I appreciate that. But frankly, for me, my inflection point in marketing at one point was sitting at something like this and seeing somebody on the stage that looked like me, and that got my head thinking, I can do that. And this has been a really inspirational panel. Just thank you for the inspiration and motivation. Y'all are all badasses, so we'll wrap on that maybe. But yeah, just wanted to let y'all know this has been great.